Nancy, welcome to the DigiMediaPros.com coverage of the EditFest LA here in Walt Disney Studios. And you live, you said, a couple of blocks from here, right?
Right. I live 2 blocks north of the studio.
That's awesome. And it's a beautiful day. You probably walked here, didn't you?
It's really close.
It's your typical LA day. This is what LA is about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I came out, I was going to be here 2 years, and now it's been 27.
Wow. That means you like it. So you're an assistant editor.
Yes.
And what do you assist in? What kind of editing do you do?
I've done mostly features, but my latest project was Greenleaf, assisting Lillian Benson. And it's an EditFest success story because I met her in a union workshop, and it was 2 years ago at EditFest at the after cocktail party that she and I started talking. So when my resume came across her desk, she called me and remembered me from EditFest. So I wound up getting on a really good project from networking at this event.
I see. So networking is really a big important piece of being an editor, right?
Yes, well, being an assistant, because a lot of times the editor will choose their assistant or from a list of recommendations. So, you know, getting to know editors, post supervisors, people in post-production, and this kind of event, you know, not only are you learning, it's inspirational because you see these people who started on, you know, low budget projects and they've worked their way up to, you know, multi-million-dollar features, and you see that everybody goes through the struggle, the learning process, the networking, and so when I leave here, it's like, yes, I can do this.
You're all pumped up. What's the relationship like between the assistant and the editor?
It depends, you know, on which editor you're working with. I mean, you kind of become sort of family over time. You get to know, you know, editors' preferences. As I say, there's no right and wrong. It's how do you want it? How do you like your files organized? You know, getting turnovers done. You know, helping with sound or, you know, anything that they need in order to meet their deadlines. You know, because it's a different way of focusing. You know, editors, I like an editor to be able to focus on the creative, and I'll focus on the organization and the technical.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Do you find that being an assistant is more of a technical versus the art side, or?
Yeah, it's being really organized.
So you need to know your tool, you need to know organization. Right.
You know, I've mostly worked on Avid. I've done, you know, there was a time when people were going to Final Cut. You know, I have well over 10,000 hours on an Avid at this point.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, and it's like when footage comes in, checking it off, making sure it's there, you know, doing your outputs, visual, you know, setting up for visual effects. There's a lot of work to it, but I love that kind of work.
Sure. And what one tip can you give to up-and-coming assistant editors?
Really know your software, be able to troubleshoot, and write down everything. You know, make sure that you're really organized so that when you need to go back and find something, you know exactly where it's at.
So be technical and be organized.
And make sure if something happens that somebody can come in, sit down behind you, and just continue working.
Right.
So, you know, make sure that everything's labeled, dated, you know, all of that.
That makes sense. All right, Nancy, well, thank you for your time and keep enjoying the EditFest.
Oh, I'm having a good time.
Good for you.